My sister Emma was supposed to get married last Saturday. Everything was perfect. The dress, the flowers, the guests. We were all waiting at the church. Her fiancé, Mark, stood at the altar, looking nervous but happy. But Emma never walked down the aisle. First, we thought maybe she was just late. Then 10 minutes became 30. Then an hour passed. People started whispering. Mark looked pale. I called her phone again and again, but there was no answer. We searched the dressing room, the parking lot, everywhere. She was gone. My sister had disappeared just hours before her wedding. Emma and I were close. We grew up sharing secrets, clothes, and dreams. She always told me everything. That's why her vanishing didn't feel right. Everyone kept saying she got cold feet, that she probably ran away. But I knew Emma. She loved Mark. She was excited to marry him. We spent nights talking about the future she wanted. This wasn't her. She wouldn't just leave like that. Something was wrong. I could feel it. While others were blaming nerves, I started looking for answers. I couldn't rest until I found out what really happened to my sister. 3 days passed, and there was still no sign of Emma. The police filed a missing persons report, but they didn't seem to take it seriously. Adults disappear all the time, one officer told me. I felt helpless. Her phone was off, her car was still parked at the venue, and she had taken nothing with her. It didn't make sense. I went to her apartment to look around. Everything looked normal, except for her bedroom. It felt strangely untouched. That's when I noticed something under the bed. A small, leather-bound book. Emma's journal. I hesitated, then opened it at first. The journal was filled with happy things, notes about the wedding, lists of flowers, cake ideas, and even silly doodles. It felt like Emma. But as I flipped through the pages, her tone started to change. She wrote about feeling watched, about someone from her past returning. She said she felt scared but didn't want to worry anyone. She kept saying things like, "I have to protect them," and "he found me." I didn't know who he was. But one page stopped me cold. It said, "If anything happens to me, turn to page 47. My hands shook. Page 47 was written in shaky handwriting. It said, "His name is Julian. We dated years ago. He was charming at first, but he turned controlling and violent. I left him and thought he was gone forever. But he's back. He found me. He says he still loves me. And if I marry someone else, he'll make sure it never happens." I dropped the journal. My heart was racing. This wasn't just about cold feet. Emma was running from danger. She didn't vanish on her own. She was hiding. I had to find her before Julian did something terrible. I gathered the journal, made copies of the pages, and took it to the police. This time, they listened. With the name Julian, they started searching records. He had a history. Restraining orders, past girlfriends who had also disappeared for short times. I felt sick reading about him. I couldn't believe someone so dangerous had come back into Emma's life. I went back to her apartment to look for more clues. I found receipts for a prepaid phone, a few ATM withdrawals in cash, and a receipt from a small motel 2 towns over. My heart jumped with hope. Drove straight to the motel. It was small and quiet, with flickering lights and a tired-looking manager behind the desk. I showed him a photo of Emma. At first he said he didn't recognize her. Then I showed him a picture of Emma in sunglasses, from her social media. His face changed. "She's here," he said. "Room 12, checked in under another name." Relief flooded me, but also fear. Was she safe? Was Julian with her? I asked him to call the police before I knocked. When they arrived, I walked up to room 12 with my heart pounding. I knocked gently. "Emma?" I whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then I heard shuffling. Slowly, the door opened a crack. Her face appeared, tired, tear-streaked, but alive. She pulled me into the room and hugged me tightly. I cried into her shoulder. She whispered, "I'm sorry. I had to go. He found me." I told her I had her journal, that it saved her, that I would never let anything happen to her. The police spoke with her next. She told them everything, how Julian threatened her, followed her, and warned her not to marry. They arrested him that night. Back home, Emma stayed with me. She barely spoke for days. She was jumpy, scared of loud sounds, and afraid to be alone. I sat beside her, reading from her favorite books, playing the music we loved as kids. Slowly, she started talking again. She told me how Julian had sent letters, showed up at her work, and even left notes on her car. She had tried to get help, but he always disappeared before the police came. She said the journal was her backup plan. In case she had to run, it would explain everything. And it did. Mark visited a week later. He looked broken, but when he saw Emma, his eyes filled with tears. She cried too. They hugged for what felt like hours. He told her he never stopped loving her, never believed she just left. Emma apologized over and over. She said she was ashamed, scared he wouldn't understand. But he did. He held her hand the whole time. He told her he'd wait. No wedding talk, no pressure, just love and support. I sat back and watched, feeling the weight finally lift. Love wasn't lost. It was just hiding, waiting to feel safe again. Emma decided to go to therapy. She said she needed to heal properly. I drove her to every appointment, sat in the waiting room, and listened whenever she needed. She started smiling again, cooking with me, laughing at movies. She wasn't the same Emma, but she was getting stronger. We even talked about her writing a book someday, to help others like her. Her journal had saved her life. Now she wanted it to save others, too. I told her I'd help her. I'd be her editor, her cheerleader, anything she needed. She wasn't alone anymore, and she never would be. The police found out that Julian had been stalking Emma for months. He used fake accounts, burner phones, and even paid someone to follow her. It was terrifying to hear. But knowing he was behind bars gave us peace. Emma filed for a restraining order, and the court granted it immediately. Mark installed a security system in our house, just in case. We weren't taking chances. Emma slept with a light on for a while. Sometimes she still woke up from nightmares. But every time she found me sleeping on the couch nearby, I wanted her to feel safe. Emma started journaling again. Not about fear, but about hope. She wrote about healing, about facing your past, about strength. She let me read some of it. It was beautiful and raw. I saw a new version of her, a woman who had faced something terrifying and come out stronger. She wasn't hiding anymore. She spoke to a local women's group about her experience. They cried, hugged her, thanked her. Her story was helping people. That journal, once filled with fear, was now a tool for change. It reminded me how something small, one book, can carry a voice loud enough to save. Months passed. Emma and Mark started spending more time together again. They didn't talk about weddings or dresses. They just lived, quietly and fully. One day, Emma turned to me and smiled. "I think I'm finally okay," she said. I smiled back and told her I never stopped believing in her. We took a trip to the mountains, just us two sisters, like old times. We hiked, laughed, and took silly photos. It felt like we had traveled through a storm and were finally standing in sunlight. I realized then that this wasn't just Emma's story, it was ours. Today, Emma is stronger than ever. She volunteers, writes, and speaks out for those who can't. Her journal is being turned into a book. She gave it a new title, The Day I Ran to Survive. I cry every time I read it. It reminds me how close I came to losing her, and how important it is to listen when something feels wrong. Emma didn't run because she was scared of marriage. She ran because she was brave enough to protect herself, and I was lucky enough to find the trail she left behind. I'm proud of her every day. If you're reading this and someone you love has changed, gone quiet, or disappeared, don't ignore your gut. Ask questions. Look deeper. Sometimes the truth hides in places like a journal under a bed, and sometimes that truth can save a life. My sister vanished before her wedding, but she didn't vanish forever. She came back, and with her, she brought courage, love, and a voice that now speaks for others. She's more than a survivor. She's a fighter. And I'll spend the rest of my life being her protector, just like she once tried to protect us all.